Hello, you awesome friends. This is your pal, Edwards here, speaking with my beautiful and powerhouse friend, Maria Padisetti, who's a tech CEO. How you doing, Maria?
I'm good, thank you. It's a beautiful day, so I'm really happy.
Now, I was going to say, we were talking off camera and the conversation was so good, I stopped our conversation and said we need to start recording. So
Yes.
Can we start that conversation again? Because it was such gold that we need to capture on camera.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ed. I know you kind of made a comment about something about you look good and you look healthy. And I said, well, I guess I'm taking care of myself. And it actually perfectly will lead into the conversation that we're planning on having. And that is actually really self-care, especially as a leader. It doesn't matter what business you're in, how many people you have in the business, because my team can actually tell when I look after myself. In my case, unfortunately, both emotions and my health are very visible on my face or in my face. So what I have made sure that I do is I take care of myself. And because of the health issues that I kind of came about 2 years ago, I was taking care of myself. And then February, March, I kind of died down and I restarted my regime. And one of those things, which I have been telling every person that I love and care about, is celery juice. I'm not saying it's the cure-all and be-all for everything. I'm no doctor, Ed, but it works with me. It really works with me. So I juice in the morning and then I have a very, very healthy smoothie. I work with a beautiful nutritionist. So I really do take care of myself. And when I'm internally feeling good, everything actually works, because you know how you've got the 4 or 5 pillars of your life: your health, your emotions, your finance, your family, your relationships, all of those. There's a few pillars that people like Tony Robbins talk about it. And health, certainly, I have realized over the years, has to be the number one, because if you're not well, and I mean really well, then you can't take care of others, which is your team.
And I know we're going to get back into the culture and team side of things, but I just want to go back a little bit because
Sure.
just for the sake of our global audience now, and you don't mind if I ask you some personal questions here, do you?
Not at all, Ed. Not at all.
Awesome. Now, I understand you have a condition that you're managing. Can you tell us a bit about that, what it means to you and how you manage it and thrive so well?
Absolutely. So about 2 years ago, it was July, so it's a little over 2 years ago, I was crawling on the gym floor. I was a bit of a, not quite a gym junkie, quite like you are, Ed, but was pretty good, because I had just finished something equivalent to Tough Mudder in the local area. And so I was I'm a very competitive person by nature. Anyone who knows me knows that really well. So
I can tell you're all pretty and all, but you have eyes of steel, which I think is totally awesome.
Thank you, Ed. So I was super competitive. So whatever I take on, I'll go full on. My sister always says you just go the extreme of something if you take it on, and you just don't know how to back off a little bit. So it's called obsession.
I'm glad I'm friends with you. Just to let you know, I'm on your side, Maria. Just remember that.
I do love you, Ed. Don't worry. You're
I'm on your side, okay?
But I am competitive. So what happens is, so I had gone full on the health journey, right? Taking care of myself, doing the gym and doing CrossFit and all of that. And one day I was crawling on the gym and my knees hurt, but not in a good way, because you know the good pain and the bad pain. So something was up. And then soon after that, I had swollen ankles.
What kind of pain was it? Like, what did it feel like? What did make you think there's something weird going on?
It was certainly not muscle or muscular pain. It was something deeper, and it actually hurt. I mean, people who have been to the gym and who exercise know the pain of working out. Like, you know, when your thighs are sore or your knees are sore because you've done something funny and all it needs is physio help, right?
Yeah.
But this one was a little bit deeper than that. So it was quite painful. And so I picked that up, and then the ankles were swollen a couple of weeks after that. And then I went to the GP, a little bit of a panic by then, going, okay, this is not good. And then, of course, when you have swollen ankles, people say it could have anything to do with your kidney because water retention. So anyway, after a couple of GPs, luckily I was quite persistent and started researching on Google. Not that it's the best doctor, but it certainly gives you some guidance. I would not recommend looking at conditions on Google, because it actually scares you more than you need to be scared. Anyway, with the help of a couple of GPs, finally arrived at the fact that it's some sort of an autoimmune condition, and they did a couple of things to then narrow it down to rheumatoid arthritis, which is the condition that I have. I don't necessarily like saying it because words are so powerful, so I don't want that condition to define who I am. But by the same token, I'm also aware that it's actually, I've found that every time I've spoken about this to anybody and everybody, it's helped enormously, because there is quite a high percentage of people who live with an autoimmune condition. There are so many of those conditions, from lupus to RA through to there's so many. As I said, there's hundreds of them. And on the other extreme of it is the big C, the cancer, right, which is also one form of that condition too. So people who've had thyroid, which is a smaller baby in the autoimmune in the world, if you only get it at a gentle level, is something that I started with and then ended with this. Because if you have one and you don't take care of yourself, it has the possibility, it's not certainty, possibility that you could get a few others if you don't take care of yourself. So that's what I ended up with, and that particular condition results in all of your joints feeling very sore. You lose mobility if you don't exercise and take care of yourself. And I was talking to a very good friend of mine, and I've heard people say that they struggle to get out of bed. And of course, because it's so debilitating, very easy for your mental health to suffer as well, because you feel like life has defeated you. So everything is a domino effect, really. So it takes all your might to have that positive mental attitude. I'm very blessed, Ed. I'm surrounded by beautiful human beings. So I don't give myself the permission to stay in that sort of, again, I have a lot of teachers, and they've taught me about what they call the suffering state, which is a state where you go down the path of your emotion being in a negative state. And I've got some things that I've learned from these various teachers on how to not stay in that. So if I'm in a state of frustration or anger, I allow myself 90 seconds and then I snap out of it.
Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Because I was just going to say on that note as well is, and this goes for both of us as well.
Yes.
I know, again, and just for the sake of our wonderful audience, we're doing this interview towards the end of September in Sydney, New South Wales, and I think we had about 10 to 12 weeks of lockdown from memory. I could be wrong on that one, but our lockdown ended a few months ago. One of the first countries in the world to end lockdown, and
absolutely.
Both our healths, and I remember it's like you and I kind of psionically linked, both our health crashed the same amount during lockdown, and it seemed to me that our healths have dramatically improved since lockdown, almost the same amounts.
Absolutely. That's why I said you look pretty good too, Ed.
Oh, thank you. How did you, and I suppose everyone wants to know this, how did you lift your health so quickly post-lockdown? What were the things that you did, and both mentally and physically?
One thing was, they always say that there's two drivers to achieving your goals or whatever you want in life. It's either pain or pleasure. So mine was pain.
I guess me too. I'm a pain guy.
Yes, most humans are driven more so by pain than they are by pleasure. But it's interesting because the pain was getting ridiculous, and I was literally waddling about in the house. I couldn't walk properly. I was getting back to, and also because of COVID, I couldn't get my blood tests, right? So I usually do them monthly, and that's kind of like a goal for me. So I keep an eye on the blood test. But you could not go to the blood places, pathologists, right, over these COVID days. So I hadn't taken a blood test from February until almost August. So I had gone backwards by 2 years in about 4 months. Oh God,
okay.
So that's how much I had let it. And so the minute I saw that piece of paper, and the pain was severe enough, I looked at it going, this is just ridiculous. So for me, it was that moment of looking at the figures and realizing it had gone backwards 2 years. I said, okay, that's it. Enough is enough. The good thing about this is it's completely under my control. That's the beauty about but the condition or anything really, right? So, and then I went back to contacting my nutritionist who I was working with. I contacted my people who are my coaches, and I said, okay, I need to get my act together. Then I sought the support of my family, because it matters what we cook in the house. Everything that's around me in front of my eyes matters. So when I tell my beautiful husband or my son or the people in my house that, look, need to get back into the regime, so could you please help me by, if you do eat tempting foods, just make sure it's not in front of me. or if you are cooking and I can smell it, just don't tell me about it.
And just on that note, you come from an Indian background, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And just for the record, I come from a Persian background, but Indian's actually my favorite cuisine. So yes. I absolutely love Indian food. It must be hard resisting home-cooked Indian food all the time. Is that a hard thing to do?
It is, but funnily enough, the path that I'm on, which is eating predominantly plant-based diet, I say predominantly because I did cheat over these last few months by eating a bit of fish. So if at all I eat something, it's fish. Water, close enough. Yeah.
Water.
But
Water right there. There you go.
that's right. But Indian diet, if
Yep.
actually done the way our ancestors intended for it to be, it's quite a healthy diet. What we have done is we actually do a lot of stuff in there that's got a lot of preservatives, a lot of things in there like overuse of yogurt and ghee and things.
Yep.
Anything in moderation is pretty good. The problem is we've just commercialized it so much that it's not healthy anymore. So if you cook at home and you use a lot of, like right now, a lot of the vegetarian stuff that I eat is actually, I take the Indian recipes, but I just don't completely destroy it with all the unhealthy stuff in it. That's the difference.
So in a way,
I don't deep fry it.
you're cooking original, proper Indian, not the commercialized crap of today. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Very much so. Well, I'm very conscious of what's going into it, and I don't deep fry if I can avoid it. So that's the other damaging thing is you can always put something in the oven. Like you could have sweet potatoes with even curry mix in there, but you could put it in the oven or you can deep fry it, right? So
And
I
it's funny you
just
say
do
that.
the oven.
I know you appreciate it because, again, and just for the sake of our audience, Persia is like modern day Iran.
Yes.
Persian and Indian civilizations have neighbors. They've grown up working together for thousands of years. So it's huge. Even though we're different, we have more in common than we don't, right?
Yes, we
And
do.
one thing I've turned to, and a big shout out to Adrian Lee on this one, is I've gone down the Ayurvedic eating. I know I'm pronouncing it. How do you say that word in Indian? Is it Ayurvedic?
Close. It's Ayurvedic, but it's very hard to get to that. I understand.
I'm sorry for murdering your language. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
But anyway, but what it is, so I started this about a week ago. Actually, I've moved to proper intermittent fasting where you only eat 2 times a day, and I tell you what, I have not felt this great in months.
Oh.
The whole full on Ayurvedic 2 times a day. I tell you what, you guys nailed this stuff thousands of years ago.
Agree. It's funny that you say that, right? All of the things that I'm practicing now or learning from the Western world actually came from the Eastern world. So including intermittent fasting and fasting full stop, right? Like a lot of people do the 24-hour fasting or there's different names to it, intermittent fasting, but like there are gurus, the sages in those days that used to say, first of all, you only eat when you're hungry, not just because you have to eat 3 meals. We feel compelled to eat 3 meals because we have to. And also, to be honest, if you're at home, you're bored. So what do? You kind of head towards the fridge because you need something to do.
Yeah, I don't agree. I don't know. I'm not with this whole 3 meal thing because it's interesting actually. And I've been doing, that's one of the reasons why I look so good lately is Ayurvedic, sorry, I'm out of language, but Ayurvedic eating, right? Yeah. And it's funny you bring up this point because what happened was during COVID, I was eating 3 meals a day. And at the end of COVID, I felt and looked like a bag of potatoes, right? But since I've gone to the proper, walk 10,000 steps a day, at least, and the Ayurvedic eating of 2 meals a day, I feel like normal again. And you're not the first person to say that I look great as well. And it only took like a week or 2 to get there. It was funny how quickly you can transform your health.
Yes, it's a lot of discipline though, and there has to be something driving you. There's some switch that goes off in your head. It's not a process, Ed. I've realized that transforming your thoughts it happens in a second.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. What really got me, and I know we're on the same wavelength. I know a lot of viewers will appreciate this as well. You know those cargo pants I wear everywhere, those black sort of army pants, which I love.
Yeah.
They stopped fitting at the end of lockdown. So pre-lockdown, you could kind of like. It was like they were like baggy pants from the 90s. Post lockdown, they were like tight sweatpants, and I'm like, I'm done. And that was about. I think lockdown ended about 3 months ago in Sydney, Australia. And I've just been that my whole the pants not fitting. That absolutely triggered me and made me look in the mirror and not think nice things about myself.
Yeah. I think it's various things. I just hope, for the sake of the audience, right, that. I know what your trigger was, but I just hope that whatever it is we're saying today drives people to take the action before it actually ends in a health condition. And it very quickly can, especially now, because you've got a combination of us having issues around mental health plus the physical. So that combination can drive us to not being healthy sooner than before.
Yeah. No, I think it's well said. And now flowing into business and culture, right? And we touched on this before. And you have done an amazing job, and you've won awards for this. In fact, you've been nominated for a recent award recently. What's that recent award you've been nominated for?
There's a few awards. By the way, nothing to do with culture, but I will come to that in a minute.
Sorry, Ed. Which award? I've got heaps of them, Ed. Be more specific, Ed. Come on. Yeah, so how many awards have you been noted?
So last year, if I can say this, last year we won the award for customer excellence. It's a national award that Telstra gives to its partners. So we won that last year for customer excellence, and that is absolutely the effort of the team, because you can't be good at customer excellence by just being one person. So that's not possible at all.
For the sake of our audience around the world, Telstra is like AT&T. It's like our number one phone company.
Exactly.
Company.
Yeah, I think if you've got, the two countries I can think of, AT&T equivalent, and of course India, you've got so many, right? You've got Airtel and Reliance, or whoever the big guys are over there. So equivalent there if you're in from the East. But yeah, so last year we won the award for customer excellence, and that was really kudos to our team. And we were nominated for one other award last year, but this year we actually were nominated for 4 awards in total, and we won one of them. We won the award for innovation, and that's also a national award. Multiple partners submit and also get nominated by customers. Both of those, I'm very proud to say, were driven by what difference we made with our customers. And that, honestly, Ed, is a reflection of our team. And I do want to say, before we start talking about culture, firstly, I am no expert. And secondly, I have to say, I have not always got that right. And I'm pretty confident I will get it wrong in the near future as well. So I just want to say that, because I noticed that I talk to a lot of peers, entrepreneurs, right? And we just beat ourselves up because we think, we have to get this right. We have to get our hiring right. We have to get our culture right. I have to get my finance right. I mean, there's so many balls that you're juggling, and it's so stressful. Sorry.
If I can slightly disagree, you said you're not an expert. Au contraire, I think you're a complete expert, because you may not be an expert in terms of you don't have an MBA from Harvard, but you're an expert in terms of here are the results, here is the financial performance, here are the awards. And I'll tell you what, and this is from a guy who's got a lot of postgraduate education. I'm not attacking higher education. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
But I think someone who has the result and has earned the result is way more knowledgeable than the person that has been taught the result but may not have earned it themselves.
You're very kind. Thank you, Ed. Thank you. I guess the reason I felt the need to say that is I just don't want people to beat themselves up if they're on that journey to achieving whatever it is that they're wanting to achieve, that it's going to be hard and it's going to take time. So just don't feel defeated too soon.
Yeah, and so obviously, so the fact that you obviously successful business, the largest phone company in Australia, Telstra, has all the government military contracts, is awarding you all these awards, and you've obviously got a great team. How did you? I mean, I won't ask you so much how did you create the team, because that's fairly straightforward. But how do you manage that team and keep the culture so powerful and customer centric and more?
Well, there's no easy answer, but let me just start, because I want to actually start by saying what I think culture is, because it's so many definitions of it. For me, it's a group that has a similar set of values, beliefs, and the way they behave. It's behavioral as well. So whatever's happening in the inside is what you see on the outside. So if you have your team serving your customers well, then we must be doing, again, it's not perfection, because you never really achieve perfection. Even those organizations who win awards specifically for their culture, I've learned this lesson because I used to beat myself up. It's not perfect, but you're constantly working on it. So what we did was we redefined, not that long ago, pre-COVID actually, redefined our values, our vision, and our mission. It really helps when your team know where you're heading. That's the first thing. Like, what's your why? I mean, if you know Simon Sinek, I'm a big fan of his. It's about defining why you exist on the planet and beyond the numbers. I've realized whether it's the millennials or the ones after those, which is the Gen Zs and further, they will be attracted to you, including the Gen Xers and the older people as well, is if you've got a purpose beyond yourself and beyond just the finances and everything else. So that's one thing. We redefined a lot of that. We also redefined what our values were. And we've become much better over time. As I said, we don't always get it right, Ed, but we can pick up that we've made a mistake sooner than we did before. So what we do is we make sure we recruit people who are closely aligned with our values. And we've made mistakes as recent as last year, Ed. So as I said, it's an ongoing learning. It's an ongoing learning.
And it's one thing, putting on my master coach hat for the moment.
Yeah.
One saying I picked up, which I absolutely love. I actually think it comes from Abraham Lincoln. It's like very early Americas. Is perfection is the enemy of progress.
Yes.
And I suppose and I couldn't agree if you want to. All those listening is, I find perfectionists often don't do very well in the workplace or do well in companies. They might go well in technical roles, but they don't succeed in those other capacities at all. I think perfectionism is the worst thing ever when it comes to creating a successful company.
Exactly. So hiring the right people who are closely aligned to our values, we've realized very quickly, in fact, so quickly, Ed, within 2 weeks, we know if we've made a mistake. Because we integrate these people and they don't quite fit. And to be honest, one thing I want to say is the sooner you take responsibility as a leader for how good or bad your culture is and how good or bad your recruitment is, the sooner you can fix it.
Yeah.
I think I used to be in a place more than 15 years ago where I used to it's easier to blame other people and blame the people you've hired. If you've hired the wrong person, it's not that person's fault at all. It's actually not that person. You didn't do the best you could to make sure. So it's also then our responsibility to find that person a job. So I don't want this to turn into a ruthless thing where you hire, you find out something's wrong, and then you fire that person, because that's not ideal either. You could do the best thing by them because they're going to be unhappy as well. And when you keep people who are unhappy, and I've again made that mistake time and time again, and as I said, I'm sure sometime in the future I'll make it again, is just to pick that up and resolve and fix that mistake, but take complete ownership. I think it starts with taking complete and utter responsibility. So I think that has really helped recruiting with the values in mind, and also within very closely onboarding them and giving them the support that they need so that they feel safe in this new place. And then we feel that that's the right match and all of the team are pretty good with it.
And just on that, I love that word onboarding. I do it all. We get lots of new clients joining us every week, and I'm onboarding new clients all the time. When it comes to staff, how do you onboard them? How do you get people in and make them feel so in the zone?
There's a whole one of our service delivery heads. She's fantastic. We've built it together. We've actually built a process. So we say it's very critical that you have either a 30-day, 60-day, or 90-day roadmap for a person who's recruited, so they know what they're going to be doing. Within the first 30 days, they're given instructions, they're given training. Then they actually, if they're in the sales team, then they actually are with me. So they shadow me. So they shadow different departments. The training is the most critical piece, Ed. I think that's where we used to make the mistake. We used to just throw them into production, like literally get started on day one, and we realized, good Lord, that was the worst thing you could do for that person, because they've just walked into business and you're expecting them to hit the ground running from day two. That was one of the biggest mistakes that we learned to change. So we actually give them a buddy and they work with that person closely. So there is a whole step-by-step process and a roadmap of learning systems, learning the way we do business, who our partners are, who our people are, and how we go about doing business. So depending on the role, even I would do a session with that person.
Yep. You know which Australian organisation this sounds a lot like?
I don't know.
The Australian Army. It sounds like the military, and that's what, the Australian military and the Australian Army is one of the most respected and feared armies in the world. Yeah. And they did exactly what you just said. Like the moment you join the army and put on the green, we used to nickname them the green pajamas, because they look good, but they feel comfortable like pajamas. When you put on the green pajamas, you go through exactly what you said. And there's a reason why the Australian Army is one of the most feared and powerful armies in the world. Even though they're not the biggest, they're the most effective. And I love where you're going with the systems and process. And once you have all these people into your culture and they're going, how do you keep that culture together? Like, I suppose I'll ask a negative question first.
Go ahead.
When your culture takes a dip, how do you correct that?
Wow. And it takes a dip. When you've been in business as long as we have, and any business that's been around long enough knows that it dips. And when it dips, it really dips. Yeah. because and here's the thing, as a leader, and say the people who are direct reports to me and their direct reports know it's coming. So if the culture has taken a dip, you've just taken the eye off the ball, because you knew it was coming all along. You just chose to ignore it, because you can see it's possibly one person that you've let into the business that's become unhappy because he or she is not the right fit. In terms of fixing that, first of all, I guess it's having really, and we fixed that as recent as last year, as I said, and even early this year. So having really open conversations, Ed, having conversations with the people. Say, one of the things that happens when your culture takes a dip is you've got gossip. You've got people, the backbiting, and the politics, and especially it's terrible when you've got a business that's not as big as a Microsoft or something, and you have politics, because that's one thing I dislike with all my heart, right? The politics. Politics and gossip are two ways to kind of take a temperature check of where the culture is at. And when you see that, it's very easy to see the groups of people who may be involved in that, which means it's actually having a very open heart-to-heart conversation, and quite frankly apologizing for creating that space, because I created that space. So when you are authentic and you go, looks like I've messed up, what can I do to make you feel safe and make this environment safe for you and a place where you're happy to be, so that we can sort this out. And when you start having those open conversations, a lot of stuff opens up. And for some reason, if they're afraid of you, or if the culture has gone pear-shaped that way, then you can actually get direct reports or even external parties to come and help you if it's gone too far. But it starts with open, authentic conversations and apologizing for creating that space that's just become whatever it's become.
Wow, that's powerful. And so let's say your culture's going really well.
Yep.
How do you keep it that way? How do you keep lifting it? Like the positive side of that question.
Yes. So once again, it's the open conversations. And of course, if you are the leader and you have a lot of people, say you have 60, 100, several hundred people, right? It's not possible for you as a CEO, as a business leader, to have every one of those conversations. So you have those conversations with your direct reports, Ed. Set that framework to have those open conversations where they're regular check-ins, one-on-ones, not just the good old performance reviews, which are now being thrown out the window because they used to be done quarterly and annual. But these are open conversations, one thing. The other thing is truly caring.
Just on that note, you said performance reviews, right?
Yes.
And actually, I've got a lot of. I was about to say I'm going to upset a lot of HR people. No, they actually agree with me.
Yes.
I think performance, and I was a corporate for a long time before I went crazy, went homeless and all that. But I think performance reviews are awful, and they don't work. And I know a lot of HR people that agree with me.
Yes.
Why are they so stupid? Because again, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Why? Who created this dumb idea of a performance review, and why are they so prone to failure?
So I'm going to actually not upset the HR people and say something. So see, the thing is, we only did what we knew, right? Back then, or with the times, we've had to evolve with times. There are so many things from the past that don't work today, Ed, and that's including things that I used to do, right? So it's not that we didn't know any better, is the honest truth. And I think we've have to evolve with the times. So performance reviews were almost one-sided. Some did them very well. But what has changed is, I know you've heard people like Gary Vee, Simon Sinek, all of these guys talk about, and girls talk about, happiness is the new whatever it is, right, is the new culture. So when you're talking like that, you actually have to create a space where people are safe and happy to come to work. So one of the things we do is, the reason performance reviews don't work is you actually don't get to know the person and the human being. Now, if that's built into a review, then that works perfectly fine. So one of the things that has worked for us, and it's working well now, and this is how we keep it consistently, is we have conversations with our teams regularly. And we try and find out what drives them beyond just career. Now, if a person with 500 people is listening to this, they may think it's not scalable. I think it's scalable. And quite frankly, your time is better invested in this than anything else, because your business will work if you invest the time in this. Because if you take care of the people, because again, the mistake I made not that long ago is focusing on customers and not on the internal team. And I realized if I take care, and even for those people who are thinking this is all too hard, well, if you're just financial driven, think about this. If you take care of your people will take care of your customers. If you take care of your customers, your people are going to work against you.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely gold. And and I know you're not like this, and neither am I. That brings us to the ugly word of micromanaging. Now, I
have done that though, Ed. I have done that. I will admit I have done that in the past because it's a learning.
But you wouldn't have done it that badly, though. I bet.
Not that badly.
Yeah.
Not that badly, but I have made that mistake.
A heavy micromanager. I severely doubt that.
Because my attention is... Because I need to move on to the next thing. So, yes.
I do this. I'm out of here. I'm going to get So micromanagement,
Yeah.
isn't that the biggest cancer you can inflict on a company?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. In fact, I heard somewhere, I don't know, because I've read so many books and listened to so many things, I don't know where this came from. There was somebody who said, in fact, we should throw out the word manager and replace it with leaders, because managers will manage the task, whereas leaders will actually, again, look after the people. So for me, the mental shift was you have to look after your people, not manage them, because nobody likes being managed. Like, what are you going to manage me, sort of thing. So whereas if you're a leader, and even the roles that you have, which is middle management, so to speak, in the corporates and the medium-sized organizations, if they are leaders and their sole and only job is to look after the people, yes, you have to look after the metrics because you're in business at the end of the day, right? There are performance metrics, you need to. But if you look after the people and care for them and help them achieve not just their professional goals, but also their personal goals, really know, like, does that staff member have a daughter who likes Frozen, for example, right? And why not surprise them with something for their daughter, like a Frozen doll or a Frozen dress? Or it doesn't cost a lot of money, Ed.
My daughter
Yes.
sings that dreaded song every day. Should we say it? Should we fire the first shot and say it?
Oh, dear God. Yeah.
Let it go.
Let it go.
She's been, I think this is from Frozen too. She's been going into the no.
Yes, that's the new song, the second Frozen. I've got a niece who's completely into it, and I buy everything Frozen for her. She's everything princess and everything Frozen. But the point is actually to care beyond. And somebody was saying, does that mean this behavior is scalable? Because if you're an entrepreneur or a business leader thinking, but what you're talking about, Maria, is time consuming. Well, I think it's Gary Vee who said it. Think about scaling the unscalable, because that's where the differentiator is.
Yeah. And I suppose using the scalability argument, because I'm with you, like being a Microsoft buff, I'm a huge scalability guy.
Yeah.
And let's say you can only look after your top tier people. Well, if you look after them, then they'll look after the people below them then, won't they?
Exactly. And that's why, it's funny. I was in a group of entrepreneurs several months ago, and we were all comparing notes, and people were saying the hardest thing is managing people. And it's weird. 90% of the people said that it is hard. And something like culture, one thing I wanted to say is culture is not a quick fix, because it's not something that you can really objectively measure and take a pulse on, like customer satisfaction. You can do employee engagement and things, but it still doesn't really fully measure culture and how people are feeling, right? I don't think there is a metric for it, but the thing is, it takes time. So I think people give up because they're going, oh, I've spoken to my team for 1 month in a row and they're still the same. They're not doing anything. But it's actually a medium to long-term game. It takes time.
That's like the gym argument. Oh, I'm really fat and unhealthy. I went to the gym 3 times, and I don't look like Uma Thurman. Oh, the gyms are all bad. The gyms are fake. The gym, it's that sort of short-term, 5-year-old logic.
Yes, absolutely. And on your journey to creating that beautiful culture, you're going to have several failures, because you're going to have these beautiful conversations and people are still not going to perform, and people are still going to throw a tantrum, whatever. And I have that, right? And that's what you asked the question, how do you maintain it? It doesn't mean that people are always perfect. They're still going to do what they're going to do. You're just going to have to take a very deep breath and have the patience. And how would you talk to your child? How would you talk to little Miss Piggy? Or how do you talk to them? That's how you have to try, and it's very hard. It's not easy. Even the people who've got their culture right always say it's a lot of effort to keep it going. But once you get it to a certain level and you can maintain it, which is also work, it's worth the results, not just because you feel great as a leader because you've created other leaders, but financially it will pay off, but it takes time.
And I think you said it there, and that's where I was going, is you're a leader who's created other leaders. And I think, to me, that's one of the reasons why your culture is so powerful, because again, and I'll go back to the scalability argument you made, right?
Yeah.
Which, you're preaching to the choir on that point, is that if a leader is using their time to create other leaders, then of course those leaders will flow through the organization. I can't help thinking of, obviously they've taken a hit in the time of Corona, but one of my favorite airlines are Emirates, Emirates, based in the UAE. Such a powerful airline. I've known a lot of people who've worked there, and they said the problem with that airline is that you never want to leave, right?
Yeah.
You just don't want to go because it's so awesome, but you eventually have to go. They got the opposite issue. And I think and ask them, why is that? And they said, from the top, it's one big family. You know,
Yes.
everyone loves each other to the point where they love each other too much, if you know what I'm saying, but everyone loves each other so much. And that's what made, and they win all the awards for like top airline in the world, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not impossible, but it does take effort. And culture is a difficult thing, yet the most important thing, because you can't see the results immediately. And for most entrepreneurs and leaders, patience is a hard thing. I mean, you're at the top because you're a high achiever, right? And it's easy for you to get there, but to bring 100 people, 10,000 people along the journey is where the real test of leadership lies.
Absolutely. Maria, I'm going to say I love the interview, and I just want to ask you, where to from here? What secret stuff have you got cooking in the Success Kitchen of Maria?
We've got quite a few. I absolutely energized. It was fantastic to win that award. We have an amazing team. Right now, the culture is pretty good. And we've got some big plans. Our partnerships, as you've already mentioned, we've got the partnership with Telstra and Microsoft. Microsoft is a pretty big focus for us. Innovation is a very big focus for us. That's the award that we won. And what we did for the customer was quite life-changing for them. So our goal is to help make a difference in many lives, and that's how I see it, because when we redefined why we exist, and that is to help organizations realize their potential. That's why we exist. That's our why. So if that's the case, then we really have to give as much as we can, and I know we will grow because we've grown quite a bit in the last 6 months alone. If we keep doing that and truly care about our customers and our people, I know the growth will come. But it's going to come around innovation, around solutions, and around transforming businesses. I know people talk about this all the time, digitization, but it's, as everybody knows, COVID has just fast-tracked that, and that's really the opportunity for us and the opportunity for our customers to really not survive but thrive, and they can, because every business we've touched where we've made a before and after, there's huge financial gains, and we love doing the before afters.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, because I was just saying as well, Lassie and I were actually doing some numbers the other day. We doubled our client base during Corona.
Wow. Congratulations to both of you.
Like, well, this is awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, so that's a lot of people said, hey, why are you so relaxed these days? Winning, that's why. But I couldn't agree with you more. Maria, fantastic interview. Just before we finish up, how can people find you and get in contact with you and tell us a bit about your company?
Wow. Sales pitch, huh?
Hit us up. You've given enough value. Now's the time to sell us hard. So
Absolutely.
Hard sell us in my style. There you go.
So the name of the company is Digital Armor, and you can find us on digitalarmor.com.au, not Almore. It's digital, spelled ARMOUR.com.au. And there is a phone number there. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So that's always a great place to which is how we met, Ed. So that's a great place to connect with me. Please send me a connection, and I am very, very good at responding pretty quickly. So LinkedIn, or get on our website and find our number and get in touch with us. And I know that if you choose to partner with us, we will give our entire heart and soul. That's for sure. And our team is fantastic.
Absolutely. And Maria, we got to catch up face to face one of these days. We should meet up at Sydney Opera House and go eat some chocolate cake and take some photos.
Oh, I'm ready, Ed. I've been going out last week, so yes, absolutely ready to do it.
I'll give you I'm in the city all day next Friday, so if you want to catch up, you just let me know.
I will. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ed.
Maria, thank you again. And what I'd love to do is I'd love to give you the final word to close this interview. The final word is all yours, also, Maria.
Wow. It's always hard to distill what I want to say into one sentence or one word. but what I want to say is this. One of the lessons that I've learned, not just COVID, but more so in COVID, is now is a very good time to reevaluate whatever it is you're doing, whether you're in a business or you're in a job. Have a look at whether what you're doing gives you a lot of joy. Because everything that I just spoke about, whether it's health or culture, it's very hard to make it happen if you're not fulfilled and if you don't have a whole lot of joy in your heart. So I would really like people to think about if what they're doing personally, professionally, gives them a lot of joy, not just a little bit of joy, but childlike joy. Like I feel like a kid at times. There are moments when I feel like I just want to dance, right? So do you feel that level of joy? And if you don't, then have a think about what you could be doing and write down what you could be doing that would give you that level of joy. And please don't waste any time and do it, because I've lost a few people close to my heart with COVID. And it really, really puts things into perspective. So nothing is worth doing unless your heart is in it.